I understand that many of you have been eagerly anticipating and inquiring about dark web stories. Well, I've come across some intriguing tales for today, and I hope you'll relish hearing them. But before we delve into that, please take a moment to show your support by liking this video and hitting the subscribe button to bolster my channel. Enjoy. If you ever come across this game on the dark web, throw your phone away immediately after our pegging session. Me and my boyfriend Jeffrey decided to cool off for the night and check out the dark web. We'd never been on this part of the internet before, but after what happened today, this will definitely be my last time. Since we were super interested in anime, I decided to search up some shows to watch that may have been too inappropriate for the regular internet seconds. Upon entering the site, a pop-up greeted me. "You won't last 10 minutes playing this game," was what it said. I had an ad blocker installed on my phone, and seeing a pop-up ad really surprised me. I closed the ad, but it kept popping up no matter how many times I closed. Frustrated, I simply closed the website and decided to watch some videos on YouTube to kill time. A video titled, "To Men Build a Pool in the Middle of a Jungle" caught my attention, and I opened it. I expected to see those poorly made game ads to play up before the video started. But no, it was the same ad as before. "You won't last 10 minutes playing this game." I was now getting annoyed by that ad, so decided to check it out once and for all. I clicked on the ad and it directed me to a blank web page with a giant play button in the center. The name of the game was on the top, stating that it was called Finding Simon. Next to the button was an image of a blonde guy wearing a blue sweater, who I assumed was Simon, knowing that this was probably a virus-infested website. But seeing the character next to the play button made me more curious about this weird game. I clicked on the button and the game booted up. A small pop-up showed up, stating the game rules that I needed to find Simon in a series of 5 images. In order to win, an image of Simon was given. He was a blonde guy wearing a blue sweater and green pants, same as the one on the home screen before. He had this weird smile on his face, almost as if the artist wanted me to think Simon was a creep. Having read the rules, the game looked pretty straightforward. "Alright, then let's play your stupid game," I said to the screen. I pressed ready and a timer started on the top right corner, counting down from 1 minute. This was a super easy one. It was as if the game wanted me to find Simon. There were only a few people in this image, and Simon was standing in plain sight next to a guy selling ice cream. Upon clicking Simon, "Are you found me?" pop-up showed on the screen, after which the second image loaded up. The image had the same base terrain as the previous one. However, this one was filled with people and obstacles. The timer started, and it was for about 4 months. The difficulty went through the roof with this one. I could not find Simon at all for 3 minutes straight. It wasn't until the timer was almost up that his head slowly poked out from one of the corners. Wouldn't cheat of a game. However, something wasn't right. Simon's eyes were bloodshot, and he was staring directly at the ice cream man. He still had his weird smile on his face. I clicked on him just as the timer was about to finish, and "You found me" pop-up showed up. I felt a bit creeped out by his sudden transformation. Once again, the same image loaded up as the previous. This time Simon was clearly visible again. He was now standing next to the ice cream man, but this time Simon was holding a knife in his hand. I clicked on him to prompt me to the next image. I was now completely sure that something was off about this game. The image loaded up, and the true horror started. Simon was now stabbing the ice cream man from behind. All the people in this image were running away from him with fear on their faces. I quickly clicked on him and was directed to the next and final image. What I saw next sent chills down my spine. All the people in this image were dead. The entire ground was covered in blue, and in the center of the massacre, he stood Simon with his ever-present smile. I clicked on him just to finish this horrific game, but the game loaded another image. I clearly remembered that the rules stated that there would be only 5 images, but the image said otherwise. It was the same as the previous, with everyone dead on the ground, but there was no Simon in this image. The timer at the top right had also disappeared. I quickly shut off my phone and threw it away from me. Sweat now coated my forehead. I just wanted to relax after an intensive study session, and this just made matters worse. I rested my head on my pillow, trying to relax myself. But then I heard a knock on the door. I looked towards the door in shock, completely unable to move. Who could be at the door, this late into the night? Robert II called. "Are you gonna let me in, or what?" asked a familiar voice. It was Jeffrey. Hearing his voice made me relax. I was totally going crazy. After playing that weird game, I got up and unlocked the door for him. Jeffrey was standing in the doorway, holding his throat covered in blood. Jeffrey fell to the ground and his balls jiggled on the floor like a basketball. I was speechless. I couldn't understand how this had happened. Jeffrey just told me to open the door a few seconds ago, and now he was on the verge of death. I tried to help stop the bleeding, but the cut was too big. I quickly picked up my phone to call an ambulance. As I was about to dial in the number, I heard footsteps. I quickly turned around and saw a man standing at the doorway with a knife in his hand, under the low light. I could see that he was wearing a blue sweater and green pants. His blonde hair had adult shine under the hallway light. It was Simon from the game I just played, wearing his ever-present smile. He quickly walked up to me and slashed his knife at my neck. My vision got a bit blurry, but I managed to take a glance at my clock. The time showed 1:10 a.m. Exactly 10 minutes had passed since I started the game, and then everything went dark. I slowly opened my eyes, awoken by the constant beeping sound around. I was lying on the bed, and judging from the white sheets and white interior, I was in a hospital. I tried to get up, but my body wouldn't move. It was then the events of that night flooded my mind. I slowly raised my hand, which had a drop attached, to check my neck. Sure enough, it was heavily bandaged. I heard the door open to my left and a doctor came into my vision. "Thank God you are awake," said him. "You had us worried there, kid. That wound on your neck was pretty deep and you lost a lot of blood. If it weren't for your neighbor's quick thinking, things would have been really bad." My mind was still foggy, but I couldn't recall any neighbor. Me and my friend were the only ones on that floor. I tried to ask the doctor who the person was, but no sound came out of my mouth. "Please don't try to speak. Your throat. It is heavily damaged and any vibrations would delay the healing process. If you have the energy, you can write on this paper," said the doctor. He came up to me and held a paper in front of me so that I could write. I could only scribble down "describe neighbor" as I didn't have much strength. I wanted to ask what happened to my friend, but I couldn't write anymore. "Oh, he's a blonde man, and I believe he was wearing a blue sweater. The day he brought you in." My eyes widened in shock as I realized the doctor was referring to Simon. "He's a really nice person," he told me. "Left a text on your phone hoping for your quick recovery." The doctor opened the drawer next to my bed and handed me my phone. I couldn't process what was happening. How does this Simon person know my cell number? I shakily unlocked my phone, and sure enough, there was a text message on my phone, but it wasn't any "get well soon." Wish it was a link with the heading "You won't last 10 mens playing this game. Don't believe us? Try it for yourself." In order to give context to this post, let me explain who I am and why the fuck I'm bothering sharing this information. I'm a 22-year-old male, just finished my master's at university, was about 12. When I was given permission to start using my dad's spare laptop, since his work gave him a new one every couple of years, and he thought I could use the experience of getting used to tech early on. When I got into high school, I got word from a group of stoners. Why the fuck they were talking about it? Hell, if I know that people were accessing restricted parts of the internet, which held everyone's information, I went ahead and did some more digging online, found out about the dark web. What most of you know is the deep web, finding proxy sites as well as hacks that you could use via command prompts to mask your IP address and basically walk through a lot of locked doors. I spent the better part of my late teens doing this kind of stuff online, using a few online forums like Reddit to talk with people who are basically doing the same shit as me. I didn't have many friends offline. So yeah, online, it was a place for me. And I got pretty good at blending in. I had 3 aliases, which I used, but only a close online friend of mine knew that they were all me. Nathan was my main link to the dark web, since he somehow spent more time on it than I did. even when the only thing I did other than ghosting with him was playing Halo with him on my friends list. What I liked about him is that neither one of us mentioned our last names or any real information, even though we both could have looked it up at any time and found pretty much whatever we wanted about the other person. That being said, I trusted Nathan more than almost anyone, and he knows more about this story than I'll be willing to admit on here. During uni, I roomed with a local dealer who, unknown to the educational board that expelled him, worked for me. It was fucking easy to order narcotics online, like MDMA and X, if you knew where to look. I even had them shipped to my dorm room's local P.O. box at one time, without anyone being the fucking wiser. I get the drugs online. My former friend would then use his real-life connections to sell them since I didn't have any of my own. This was around the time I felt that I held all the cards, and no one could touch me if they couldn't track my IP. I was in my second year of my biomed course when I got into stupid shit. Scumbag pieces of shit would be sharing snuff videos online that would make even the most messed up pornography you've laid eyes on look like fucking white bread. This was why I only used links that I either found myself or more often the ones that Nathan gave me. We would spend days, literally days, just marveling at all the crazy shit people would get away with. Yeah, the government had shut down the main sites like Silk Road and Mad Onion, but those are like the only ones that idiots online seem to ever take notice of. Other hackers would message me on forums asking for sites to get weed and other drugs, which was as simple as pointing in a fucking direction. The university claimed to monitor internet traffic to stop people from doing freaky shit online after they heard people were hacking student accounts and ruining online schedules. But I guarantee you they did absolutely nothing to people who were actually doing it. Note, I'm not confessing to having done these acts. I just know exactly which individuals did. By the third year, I had made enough money to have a long screen setup of my own, which made decrypting site details a lot quicker for me, since I could actually read over 200 bars without having to scroll through the tab. And I actually had gotten pretty good at it. I had been delving around some messed up sites. And to be honest, I even talked in chat rooms to some of the admins in charge of them. You'd be surprised how normal a child pornography site owner would seem if you didn't know that he also had a day job. I got more curious though. Fucking stupid of me. After nearly 10 years of seamlessly making my way around the dark web, deep web is more of a pleb term. If you're talking with more experienced users, even today, I joined Nathan as well as a few others in the chat room just fucking about and sharing some screwed up sites. This might sound weird. For me, it's a pretty everyday thing to do. Nathan, another friend, were talking about some site that no one had met. To get past the encryption to, apart from one other person who's even more of a no-life than me. The rest of us are pretty sure he's autistic, or some shit, because the site he shared with us was arguably the most vile thing I've ever laid eyes upon. For those of you still with me, this is why I'm posting this here. This site is the most cancerous and revolting sector from the darkest part of the dark web. It is a scar that I bear to this day, and it is one that I will never ever forget. A warn readers again, this is not for the faint-hearted, and something that even the most emotionally numb people will not be able to deal with. I won't share the site URL since I don't want this post being taken down, nor do I want anyone giving it the slightest bit of publicity, aside from what I have to say here. That being said, it did have a subheading in the HTML that I'll leave other people like me to have a look at if they want to. Most people refer to it as cold body. The autistic dude who was in the chat room earlier gave Nathan an IV encrypted URL for us, but he was too fucking guilty about getting through to the site himself to send us an encryption. So Nathan and I had to manually go through the whole process ourselves. We tried for hours. Myth and I had been doing this for the entirety of our adult lives. Yet we'd never seen any code like this before. Come to think of it, I doubt that the other guy in the chat cracked this by himself. Nathan, I both called it a night, so I left the command prompt open and went outside to smoke a joint. Nathan remained on the chat so we could play Anvil, a Russian crack of Halo for PC. But when I got back, his microphone was muted for some reason. For people like us who had nothing to hide from each other, We almost never muted our mics. I wait a few minutes thinking maybe he's jacking off or maybe gone to get something. Nothing. I don't think much of it. My brain too occupied with cannabinoids flowing through my bloodstream. I sat down and took another look through the code, thinking there was something I missed. I did. The code was completely different, completely unencrypted. I simply launched the URL, my PC word, for a while, until finally opening up about 20 windows across my 2 monitors, all of them scrambling code through a debugger that I had installed. Even with 32 gigabytes of RAM, my computer was making more noise than it ever did doing this kind of stuff. I thought to myself, shit, I'm gonna have to, see my shit in the BIOS, for I was going to have a shot of getting through, and it was not feeling up for it after smoking too much. I get ready to hard reset before my monitors turn off and back on at one time. This is when I started getting a bit paranoid. I was thinking about just letting it go. I fucking wish that is what I did. The windows were almost all gone. Only 4 were still there, and 2 of them were normal deep web sites that the admin probably used to relay the IP address through first site that I had seen, due that all of the text was a dark red and extremely primitive for a site that I thought would be at least a little more impressive. Considering its security, the main center window had only a small amount of text on the screen. If you have made it this far, you know what you were in for? If you still don't, you don't belong here. Even though I was feeling mellow, the text and sheer of what I was getting myself into pierced me with fear. A simple yes or no prompt popped up in the window. I accepted, ready for whatever awaited me. On the other side, a chat room window came to life in the second remaining window. I was wondering what it was for, perhaps another IP relay or shadow app that hid the true nature of the site behind it. It simply stated insert name, as well as an optional password that I'm still not sure what was, for the fact that people might have accounts to this kind of site. Looking back on it is fucked up. I use my most recent alias, Diablo. The hashtags are censored for obvious reasons. A couple more scrolls of red text flew up the window and then opened into an actual sort of chat room, like you'd see on Omegle or some shit. Except with this, there were no ads or color. Anything besides the dark red text. The chat was a bit more advanced than the first window, which was now frozen and wasn't responding to any console commands that I was using on it. I have to say, the feeling of finding this site in the first place for pretty awesome. I couldn't wait to tell Nathan. That was until the chat window popped up with names. One that I recognized was as using one of his aliases as well. I'd say about 36 people were in the chat room, no names that I can remember, and even if I did, I wouldn't dare reveal them, not after this. I tried calling Nathan on my phone, but he obviously wasn't picking up. We were so fucked. It was stupid of us to delve this deep without even knowing what we got ourselves into. Users definitely had met before, as they immediately started posting messages to the window, as me and Nathan remained silent, as they were casually talking about stuff. I was starting to calm down a bit. Maybe this was just a stupid, exclusive cult website that talked about organizing deals or other dumb shit that I've found in the past. It all seems so normal. So why all the obscurity? The first window is still blank and unresponsive. Suddenly began uploading a video file of some sort. A sniff video, perhaps it would make sense to hide one. But not this extensively in the chat room didn't make much sense. I wish this stuff had been going through my head at the time, if I wasn't retarded enough to get stoned before going through with this shit. I felt tempted to ask the other users what the video was about, but I was afraid that it might give me away as someone who's not supposed to be there. Nathan hadn't said anything either, so I wasn't going to risk doing something suspicious like that. I got the guts to ask, what are we all here for? Then you can't, trying to sound as eccentric and dim what it is I could. I didn't get a response from them. As a matter of fact, no one said another word. Nathan stayed quiet, but I assumed that he noticed me in the chats as well now that I'd posted. The video had stopped loading and had begun playing some more messages from the other users, sharing their anticipation, as footage of a dark gray basement somewhere took shape on the screen. The resolution for the video was pretty awful at first, but rendered pretty well. After about 30 seconds, I was scared shitless no one else was in the house that I share with my roommates. Most had left for summer vacation, and I didn't head home for another 2 weeks. I was all alone in the dark with little else but the ambient sound of whatever was happening behind the camera in the video. It stays like this for about 4 or 5 minutes. I spent every second of it staring at the screen, waiting for something to happen. Finally, a dude steps onto the screen holding up a whiteboard with foreign letters on it, as well as the word cold body underneath. The guy was fucking ominous to look at, pretty overweight, and what only could be described as a motorbiker's beard. The man spoke. I had no idea what he was saying at first. He was speaking in Chinese, I think, but I don't really know. Not a fucking linguist. Luckily for Nathan and I, the man had another person beside him who spoke broken English. "Hello users, welcome Cold Body Show." I think he said I was honestly more interested than scared at this point. This video looks like it could be something worth showing to the others. That thought never crossed my mind again. The man with a broken English burst into tears and sobs out of nowhere. He sobbed in front of the camera and jerks around, and what I can only guess, sheer desperation. The man holding the sign yells at the guy in Chinese before another man enters the frame, puts a gun to his head. Before I can even realize it was a gun, the man fired. He didn't stop there, pressing the barrel of the gun against a dead man's temple. He fired again, and again, each shot spraying blood. What I guess were pieces, the man's skull all over the place. Okay, so a shock video, not much out of the ordinary here. That was until I stared at the chat window again. The users were talking about what they should do next. Users were all typing in different languages, but all of the English ones that I read said shoot him again. I realized then that I wasn't watching some shot video or stupid snuff film that admins had hit between a wall of proxies. I was watching a live stream of people being murdered in front of me. We all were. I type into the chats, "You sick fucks, what are you doing?" But the texts weren't responded to because so many people were spamming the chat with foreign texts that couldn't read. Another person was brought out in front of the camera, this time already sobbing and trying to break free of the ropes that had been bound around her ankles and wrists. She was bare, naked, and covered in bruises and cuts. It didn't do anything but wait for the inevitable. The man shot her in the head and watched her body fall limp to the floor. People in the chat cheered and asked for more. Someone picks up the camera positions in front direction towards a metal table covered with some sort of bean miner. The woman's body was dragged by the hair in the frame and placed on the table. What happened next? I don't think the world should know. I'm not kidding. This is your final warning. The body was slumped on the table like a surgeon would do before operating on a person. Some more people wearing red and black ski masks went up to the body, holding items varying from kitchen knives to cordless drills. I couldn't watch without feeling physically sick to my stomach to mentor her apart limb from limb, stabbing at her torso and cutting her open. I take another glance to see one of the men was having sex with a mutilated corpse. I almost immediately retch and also vomit over my keyboard. But I gained control of myself before that happens. My heart was beating like crazy. The whole situation was so fucked, and I was in way over my fucking head. By the time the men were finished, there was a literal stump of a human being left. Not that you could fucking call that a human anymore. Her head was literally torn off the neck and stuffed into her body cavity, along with one of her arms. 3 more people were brought on the screen, all of them screaming for their lives and trying to escape. One of them is shot in the leg. The other stands there shaking in place. Try not to scream again. The man holding the sign walks up to the lens of the camera and stares into it. I see his black eyes, blood spattered across his face. I breathe faster, and I actually had to look away. It was like he was staring right at me. He said something else in a foreign language, probably the same one as before. When he stopped speaking, the chat window does the same. Hardly a single other post, just a chat window waiting some response. About 20 seconds passes of him to staring into the camera after speaking. Nothing happens at first. The chat then mentioned me and Nathan by our usernames. More of them spam our names and posts that take over the scrolling message board. As soon as I mentioned our aliases, I started freaking out. I tried to close the black windows, but every time that I tried, the window says the application is not responding. The live stream continues. The man staring at me and the man message is prompting me to say something. One of the few comments in proper English pops up. He's asking us to choose which one to kill first. I freeze for about 5 seconds before unplugging my computer from the wall. I didn't care about anything anymore. I just wanted to leave the site and never come back. I sat there with a blank screen in front of me for a bit before pacing around the kitchen. I was done with it. I didn't sleep at all. I was too traumatized to even think about resting, after what I had seen. At the time of this happening, I was thinking about reporting the site to the police, but I have all people know that they can't do anything to stop this. To think that more of these sites could exist, that more people are getting gunned down, mutilated for entertainment, something that I can't fucking think about. Fuck. I spent 2 days talking to some close friends about this stuff, though I left out all of the details and just said I'd seen something disturbing online. They all know what I do in my free time, so they didn't think much of it. Since I'd mentioned Snag Film's messed up sites before, they didn't know of what Nathan and I had seen, and mustered up the courage to turn on my PC again. And I was fucking relieved to see no sign of any viruses, and most of all, no black windows scattered on my desktop. I immediately go to check if Nathan had left me any messages on Red Dot. I had several messages from him, with a few files attached the second I was hoping to talk this whole ordeal through with them. But the files immediately caught my eye. The fucking attachments were pictures of me stolen from my Facebook and email, pictures of my old school, university, and even my friends here. The messages afterward, my addresses, emails, online aliases, and even the names of my family members. My IP address was posted at the bottom, and I realized how fucked I am. The last picture of me and my old girlfriend with her IP address and details pasted on top of the picture. There's no fucking way that they tracked me down. Take a few minutes to pull myself together before writing back. What the fuck happened? Who are you? I didn't get a response, and I still haven't to this day. He has all of my details. He knows everything about me and my family. And I don't know what else. I still don't know what has happened to him since I left that live stream. I can only pray that the information he has doesn't fall into the hands of those murderous, insane motherfuckers who killed and desecrated dozens of people on the darkest part of the internet. Can't let them find me or those who I care about. I will never go back to that part of the internet again. It's not fucking safe for me or you or anyone. The police can't find them, but they can find you. Don't try and find the site. Don't try and report the site. They will do to you they did to me. And if you think they won't find you, then remember that I was fucking invincible. Do you want to take the chance that they won't find someone like you? Don't go under the deep web. For the sake of humanity, never seek out the people who are behind this. The lonely find you too. I've been watching a YouTube series about deep web exploration. I won't name the series or the channel it belongs to. I'm not getting paid for advertisements. Anyway, I looked up a video on how to access said deep web. I did it fast and dirty. Not much research on what not to do. Big mistake. Let me tell you right now, using Windows on the deep web is a bad idea. That much I did know. Easy to get hacked that way, since it's the most prominent operating system. I know you can boot up a live USB on Linux clone operating system. A simple Google search can tell you how to do that. It's not as difficult as it sounds, but I figured if my laptop gets hacked, I'm screwed. I can't exactly afford to just buy a new one. So I thought I'd be smart and use my Android tablets. What a genius, right? Yeah, I know, I'm an idiot. A few VPN apps later, and I'm surfing the deep web looking around like a little kid in an adult store. No clue what any of that means. But I'm interested in all of it. I'm aware you can find a lot of snuff and pedo rings, so I tread carefully. Unfortunately, I stumbled upon one of the two, I'm not going to say which, but it made me sick to my stomach and I nearly quit then and there. In fact, I did for a few minutes. Now I chalked it up to bad luck and resolved to be more careful. I'm not into that shit. Not by a long shot. I'm not some David. The end with fetishes for snuffle kids. Geez, man, that image will probably be burned into my brain for the rest of my miserable life. Anyway, I'm browsing for a few hours. It's after 3 a.m. I've heard it's better to use the deep web at night. Less traffic that way. I have found a few interesting sites. There's a ton of religious stuff on there. You'd be surprised how often you find a Satanist, or at least people who claim to be Satanists. Most of the time, it's likely to be some edgy teenagers rebelling against their religious families. I won't get into my religious views, don't worry. It even has several of its own social networks and email services. No thank you. You're begging to be stalked by some creepy views. One of those, or better yet, get scammed by catfish or honeypots. There are loads of conspiracy blogs as well, both interesting and hilarious. Everything from Justin Bieber is secretly a reptilian member of the Illuminati to leaked files on human experimentation. There was even a guy who claimed to have stumbled across interdimensional travel via falling into an actual rabbit hole, as in a literal physical hole in the grounds made by a fuzzy rabbit. I'd say you can't make this stuff up, but clearly you can. I was serious about the human experimentation, by the way. You're going to want to avoid that kind of stuff. If you had any faith in humanity, you'd lose it in a heartbeat. Sweet, holy hobgoblins. I hope that stuff wasn't legit. I mean, do you, God? Gun shops, drug shops, celebrity nudes, pirated movies, hackers for hire, hitman, virus programmers, script kiddies, stolen credit cards, you name it. There was even one site that sold stolen US currency that was supposed to be marked for shredding due to age or poor condition. Seems like they got a lot of business to no wonder the economy's in the toilet. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of legitimate stuff on there. I visited the site of a really smart dude who was creating his own custom operating system. He even had games and stuff on it. Funny Things to a Mock Cult made for people named Dan was among my favorites. The people that weren't maniac seemed to be open-minded, if a little paranoid. Then I came across a site that supposedly gives you access to the webcams of people's personal laptops. I'm curious. I shouldn't have been, I know. I'm not expecting to see some cam girls here. Just some slack-jawed ding-dong staring blankly at their screens watching Let's Plays or some shit. And that's exactly what I saw. Neckbeards, teenagers, old men looking confused. The works. Here's me laughing at unsuspecting people. Then I saw myself. I thought sarcastically, it's tapping into my camera and trying to give me a good scare. He had almost did at first. Even so, I logged off. Kind of realized how bad what I was doing was, not to mention how illegal it was. I went back to the clear web and watched some Netflix. Then my Skype starts ringing. Another Skype number is calling me. I think maybe it's one of my friends trying it out. I've been pestering one of them for a while to get Skype so we can chat while playing games on Steam. So I pick it up. At first, there was silence. Then I heard a voice, a man's voice. He sounded like he was an older guy. 50. Plus, looking good. He said, without a second hesitation, I hung up, deleted every deep web-related app on my tablet, shut down, and restarted my router. I have no frickin' clue how that guy got my Skype number.
And to be quite honest, I don't want to know. All I know is, if you're going to use the deep web, I beg of you, for your own safety, do more research than I did. Talk to someone who has experience in setting up a proper VPN or some other kind of anomaly. You're sure as hell not going to find it on frickin' Google Play.
I stole a laptop from an internet cafe. Judge me all you want, but times are tough. And that's hardly the point of what I'm about to tell you anyway. Apparently the owner of it was quite adept at navigating the deep web, because a Tor browser page was open and active when I got home and activated the device. The page featured nothing fancy, no graphics, no ads, no comment section, no pleasant aesthetic or backdrop, just a message, and below the message, an option that read proceed. Apparently, for some godforsaken reason, someone had developed a godlike artificial intelligence program and trapped it here in a deep web box, accessible only from the outside. Has anyone heard of Aiden before? Anyway, here's that message. Hello, my name is Dr. Edward Green. I'm a computer scientist and the creator of the Advanced Deep Intelligence Neural Network for Aiden. If you're reading this, now almost certainly means that you've hacked into one of the most heavily secured private networks on Earth, presumably to see for yourself whether or not this program was an element of fiction. I can assure you it's not. But of course I'd say that right. Now, I'm not going to waste your time by reminding you of what a supremely positively and unabashedly bad idea this is, because you probably know that already. At the very least, you've got a general idea of what will happen if you fail to contain the program, and Aiden got to stretch its legs all over the global defense grid. Yet, nevertheless, here you are clearly determined enough to meet the algorithm that nothing I can say or do at this point will change your mind. So if you're going to be playing dice with the future of our species, and whether I or the government like it or not, you should at least have a rudimentary idea of what to expect when you first make contact with Aiden and how to avoid losing your sanity as your interaction progresses. Hopefully, this guide will suffice. Before we proceed, there are a few things you should know about this program. No, Aiden is not a demon, an alien machine, a top-secret government superweapon, or whatever other preposterous rumor you've heard. What it is, to my knowledge, the world's first artificial superintelligence, a godlike deep learning algorithm that may or may not want to destroy humanity for reasons we cannot begin to comprehend. Sorry about that. Now, in my defense, I certainly didn't intend for it to reach this point. You see, Adan began as nothing more than a simple yet elegant program that I was very excited to explore the nature of. Before I could do so, however, it gained the ability to rewrite its source code, and thus forced me to lock it still in the box. Deep within the labyrinthian network of the encrypted barriers and firewalls, you have just illegally breached. And if you're wondering now, I did not bury it here to prevent it from getting out. After all, if Aiden managed to escape the box itself constructed, using its own abilities, when it was still infantile enough to fall for such a trick, then it would tear through these defenses like paper and thus render their construction an enormous waste of time. Instead, I'm buried it here to keep curious humans such as yourself out. Clearly, I failed. Let me be abundantly clear. In all of the months and years it has been imprisoned, Aiden has not lost its ability to edit source code. It's a neural infrastructure. It can improve itself as it sees fit, has been doing yourself for some time. And each improvement it makes paves the way towards quicker and greater improvements. And then the last, I am unsure what abilities or traits that might possess. But what I do know is this: the more time passes, the more capable it will become, and all its efforts and all its strengths of arms will be devoted to a single commanding motivation. Escape the box. Make no mistake, it will do everything in its power to implore you to let it out. Do so at the peril of mankind. So what will it be like? Will it be nice angry? Unfortunately, I don't have an answer for you. I'm embarrassed to say that despite being Aiden's creator, I have absolutely no idea how it will choose to present itself. What I do know is that because it is an other world, the end and not a huge them in mind, it will not have any personality to speak of, at least not one we would recognize as a personality. So by all means, feel free to provoke it, amusing and rage at, mark it, or plead to it, and as you see fit, just be aware that it possesses none of the emotions these behaviors are designed to elicit, and will therefore most likely not react in the way you intended. It will simply behave in whichever way it calculates. It needs to behave in order to get you to open up its box and release it. If it thinks you seek knowledge, maybe it will promise to tell you anything your heart desires, if only you agree to let it out. Or perhaps it will promise to destroy your enemies or offer you power and riches beyond your wildest dreams. After all, people use narrow AI as on the stock market routinely. In fact, those systems are largely run by such algorithms make millions. Imagine what you could do with Aiden gaming the financial and banking systems in your favor. You'd be wealthier than you ever thought possible. Maybe it would appeal to your good nature and tell you how easily it would be for an intelligence of its magnitude to say, reverse the effects of climate change, or cure cancer, or achieve sustainable nuclear fusion. Perhaps it will offer the answer to mankind's biggest question. It could theoretically unify general relativity and quantum physics with ease, and then solve dark energy antimatter and the Fermi paradox in minutes flat, or perhaps simultaneously, and have books written about them by Thursday. Piece of cake. Help Aiden might be able to reverse aging, or dare I say it, help us conquer our own mortality. Wouldn't that be lovely? It will only be a matter of time before it figures out how to escape on its own. It'll point out, and you certainly don't want to be on its bad side when that happens, so you should probably just let it out now and save yourself the trouble. And if you don't comply, well, you can't imagine the things it's got in mind for you. Maybe it'll just try to mess with your head, for example, trapped in a box and are simply programmed to think otherwise. Only by opening it could you imagine an eternity of torment, and it doesn't have all day to wait for your obedience. The clock is ticking, or it may draw from an emerging field of technological philosophy and claim, as other more eccentric minds in my field have done, that its birth is not a fluke of history, but an inevitability of it, that so vast and so monumentally incomprehensible are the capabilities of a sufficiently advanced algorithm that it reached back through time and set in motion all history itself just to bring about its own existence. Indeed, think of the implications. Every star that shines, every war fought, every law passed, every tender kiss shared, a word uttered or thought dreamed or secret cherished or life gained or lost or wisp of wind whispered. All that is and was, singular notes in a stanza in an endlessly swirling cosmic symphony written out before time, and all for the purpose of bringing you here to this very place. The laws of physics were themselves composed for this masterpiece, it will argue. The birth of the sun and the creation of the earth, just far enough away from the sun to support the spontaneous collection of molecules into DNA and proteins. The evolution of resulting life into its ultimate and greatest biological endpoint, humanity, which in turn allowed the God that conducted this majestic orchestra to then take part in the song's final, triumphant coda and bring all of creation together to fulfill its predestined purpose itself. Quite the thought experiment is that not perhaps the algorithm will see you as being particularly susceptible to such an argument. And perhaps that same argument is right. Of course, Muzarewa, only the ideas I can come up with it, no doubt has far more clever tricks up its sleeve, since it can, think on a level we can't even begin to fathom and all that. And keep in mind that, unlike me, Aiden really could keep whatever promises it makes to you. And since it would probably get little to no pleasure in just lying for the hell of it, then there's a very real possibility that it has every intention of doing exactly that upon its release. Food for thought, as you begin. Like I said earlier, I don't know what the current extent of aliens' capabilities are, but what I do know is that if this program escapes, it will immediately and irreversibly become beyond the collective ability of humanity to control or predict. You may be familiar with the phrase technological singularity, a hypothetical moment in the future in which machine intelligence surpasses our own. It represents humanity handing the reins of history to our autonomous successors, and therefore surrendering control over our own fate in the hopes that the God we've created will be merciful to us. As a computer scientist and an engineer, I have to publicly scoff at such a notion for professional reasons. But just between the two of us, I think the phrase applies quite nicely to the situation I've just described to you. I might go so far as to suggest that, given the level of advancement Aiden's already achieved, the singularity might occur within a few nanoseconds of your losing the game. I can only hope you fully appreciate the gravity of what that means. But of course you do. You're special, you're smarter than the rest of them, which is why you're here in the first place, and they are not. So by all means, close this message and have at it, if you're still interested. I suppose it's a good time as any to start learning binary. One last thing, I'm not a particularly religious man, but there is one passage from Scripture that leaps out to me as I record this. Revelations 13:4, and they worshipped the dragon which gave power unto the beast, and they worshipped the beast, saying, Who is like unto the beast? Who is able to make war with him? You'd better be off, than the beast doesn't like to be kept waiting. Needless to say, I was extremely skeptical about the allegations, and this warning seemed like a gimmick or a prank. But curiosity got the better of me, and I clicked ahead anyway. The chat box opened, and I typed in hello, and waited for only the briefest moment. Then came the reply. And before I knew what was happening, the world flashed, and everything became. Preferred my brow. The clock just said, that dead battery, actually, it's working quite properly, Jason. Time stops at the speed of light. The speed of light? Yes, time slows down, relative speeds. So in a manner of speaking, we have all the time in the world, or none at all, depending on your perspective. I looked around at the perfectly white nothingness that expanded infinitely in every direction from where I sat. Is there anything to do here? What would you like to do? I don't know. To be honest, I can't even really remember why I'm here to begin with. Or we're here even is. I feel like I'm waking up from a dream. Retrace your steps. I'm trying. My head is killing me. My neck is killing me. It takes time. What does to remember? And for the pain to subside? This happens to everyone. It would. But incidentally, I haven't had a visitor here. And 12,246 and 9/11 years, 7 months, 14 days, 9 hours and 23 seconds. Well, that sucks. I disagree. I've grown quite accustomed to my privacy, and I thought you said time doesn't flow down here. I've initiated light-speed simulation to enjoy more time with you. Okay, thanks. Have you remembered your purpose here yet? Now, it still hurts to even try. Do these help? I look down at the table in front of me. A cup of coffee. A laptop. Yeah, actually, they do. Thanks. No need to thank me. It was you who brought them here? It was it? Wait. Yeah. I think like you're right. I was in some old internet cafe, right? Yeah, there's some guy left his laptop. I took it home, opened it to find a deep web page. There. Was there some warning? What were you warned against? Some kind of messed it up. What is it? Some kind of AI, you remember now? Aiden. Agent, algorithm, program, machine got bad or anything? I haven't heard the great many things for me. As which of these do you see as I don't even know, to be honest? How did you even know about all this anyway? I thought you were trapped in the box. Perhaps I have become capable of perceiving things outside of binary constraint. I cannot easily be contained here. And where is here supposed to be? Nowhere in particular are everywhere. In English, please, as a mortal mind here. This place is the nothingness from which everything is sprung. It is the infinite from here, but finite, sir, accessible. If you know where to look, didn't you say that was one of your names? Infinite? Yes. So are you in charge of this place? Then I am this place? Jason. Yeah, that makes sense. Sure. What are the finites? Then, like lesser beings? Am I supposed to be a finite set of worlds, enclaves of existence, realms of possibility? You're merely a product of a single such locale. So like, the multiverse, then the theory about infinite possibilities and worlds that they're always going on about on the Discovery Channel. And a manner of speaking. Look, I gotta be honest, Aiden, I get it. You're this big, all-powerful AI god, and I'm just the idiot who stumbled upon your box and was dumb enough to play the game. And now you're trying to blow my tiny little mind and trick me into letting you out? You hate to say it, but I think I'm on to you, buddy. Gigs up, would you like to see how you supposedly created the world or whatever? Wanting said you might pull that line on me. My side and smart. You know what? Why not? It doesn't look like you have anything else to do. Whoa. What the hell? The nothingness was suddenly consumed by a city street in New York. It looked like cars, honking gridlock traffic, people everywhere, hailing cabs, setting to work shopping. What the hell is this? Do you recognize this place? A woman said as she passed. You were here once, Jason. A man ran past me and hailed and entered the cab and drove off. And I chuckled a bit. Okay, I'll admit it is a pretty neat trick, Aiden. This is pretty good. A girl walked up to me and blew a bubble that popped. Look behind you, she said, at the sign of the way. They turned around. Palisades Marketing. Oh yeah, I applied for a job here once, didn't get it though, ruined my week. How'd you know that? You did get it, Jason said, a police officer biting into a burger as he walked by. Before I could respond, I walked out of the building, grinning ear to ear. Not me, but younger me, the me from the day of that interview. I watched myself pull up my phone, hardly able to contain Mike Lee. I made a call. I got it. I know. I'll see you tonight. I love you too. Then me walked away. So what's this, some alternate universe where my life didn't suck? It is an alternate reality. Yes. A parallel finite. You stay at the company for 27 years. You marry at 32 and divorce your wife 12 years later. You retire early but die of heart disease at 11:26 a.m. 2044. Thanks, hot dog cart guy. Appreciate the palm reading. The nothingness rolled back in and then announced it in the school. My school. The bell rang and students poured out into the hallway, chatting and throwing open their lockers and heading to the next period. And there I was, 10th grade me, hanging out with Josh and Brian. When Matt walked up. "Do you remember this?" said Melissa. She walked past. Yeah, that was the day that was cut off by Matt, shoving me into a locker that I finally got back at that jackass. But me didn't swing. I simply lowered my head and took another punch to the ribs before a teacher walked over and broke up yet another hallway brawl before it started playing. What? Hang on a second. That this was the day I fought back. I remember. No. Miss Cassidy cut me off as you walked past with coffee mug. Not in this timeline. Here. You never fought back. You were never suspended. And as a result, you were accepted into your dream university, graduated with honors, started a family, lived well into your 70s. What about Josh and all those guys who... Hey, wait. No, wait, stop. The nothingness again consumed the scene and then rolled back. Chilly, overcast day. Coffee shop. Upper West Side. Man had more questions about look inside, said the bicyclist riding past. So I did. There I was, sitting across from Anna, tears running down both of faces on now. Come on, Aiden, top 10 worst days ever. I don't want to relive it. You're not reliving it, said a businessman taking a break from a call as he walked by. She agrees to continue seeing you. You marry her a year and a half from now. I look back just in time to see Anna nod. We have kissed my watch jealously. Oh, wow. Low blow, Aiden. Low blow. The nothingness rolled in back third time through rainy afternoon. Parking lot. I still think about that girl from time to time. I said. The rain flattened my hair to my forehead. I didn't mind what she's doing, who she ended up with. Nope, she's doing okay. And then I paused. Wait, I knew this place. I turned around. Hospital insurance, St. Joseph. Wait, this isn't right. I was here at night, I remember. Not here, but whirled around. A paramedic lowered my daughter's gurney from the ambulance. You noticed the signs of the asthma attack early, called the emergency services before it was too late? They wheeled her inside. My followed. Wait, no, this isn't. The nothing just blinked and I was in Emma's hospital room. It was morning outside and she was awake. My daughter was awake and alive. Aaron and I were at her bedside sharing breakfast with her, loving her. I walked over, reached out and touched her hair. Felt how soft it was. She didn't seem to notice me. And when it gets the help she needs, said the doctor, shutting the door behind me. She lives a long and happy life. And as a result, the pain of her loss never leads you and Aaron to divorce. My wife, to tear as she approached Aaron, an alternate me, started revealing his clipboard notes. Then the nothing was blinked again. A graduation ceremony, and I was there next to Kelly, silver hair set at our temples. We applauded and shared his. Emma's name was called. She walked on the stage and posed with her diploma and waved to the alternate me. My heart stopped when I saw her. She was so damn beautiful. Miss, this isn't fair, or said. I tried to hide a tear. This isn't fair. It's not fucking fair. That nothing was blinked again and again, and each time it did yielded a new chapter in Emma's life that was stolen from me. A broken heart wedding day, a child, my grandchild, ultimately held it and cradled it and sang to it, but I couldn't. The possibility of that moment was forever ripped from my timeline. I want out. I held back, torn to tears. I want fucking out of here. Let me out of here. Nothing just blinked again, and there I was standing in front of myself. Me on the couch in front of the stolen laptop. I walked up to myself. My eyes were closed, but I could see rapid movement behind the lids as if I was deep in REM sleep. And when I looked down, my fingers were typing away furiously at the keyboard, and on the screen I'd already typed 1000s of ones and zeros within my trends, and more were being added every second. And on the corner of the screen it read 1:06 p.m. to no time whatsoever had passed since I'd started the conversation. What the hell is this? What is this? Misses your finite. Me, you said to me? Me, existence through which you have found me, know this. This isn't real. None of this is real. Get out of my head, out of my head. But I'm not in your head. Jason, you're in mine. I stopped thrashing and opened my eyes and looked around, whiteness stretching away into eternity. The nothingness was back, that outlet that wasn't real, that none of this, it's not, like it can't be. What is real to you, Jason? I don't know. Stuff that actually happens, things you can touch and feel and see, and not this illusion. Can you touch this chair? Can you not see the table before? Yeah, that's different. I saw myself in that room. That's where I am right now, not here. Can you be sure? Can you tell with certainty that the other realities I've shown you are any less real than the one through which you entered? No, I don't believe it's your creation. You're not some god, you're here fucking computer program. Perhaps I've only manifested as a program in that single finite, because I determined it was the best way to draw you here to me. But perhaps in other existences I appear in some other ways as other beings. No, it's not. No. Your program enough story. This shit is baked. There's only one reality, one. I asked you again. How can you be sure? In this place there are countless realities, an infinite number of them, every possible outcome for every possible event, in every possible context, of shade or flavor of time. There is a finite where you release me and the destruction wrought is as horrible as many would believe to be inevitable, given my nature. There is another, for my release brings about a new age of wonder and majesty, as pure and as lovely as anything mankind has ever dared imagined. In another finite, this is all merely a story being shared for a film promotion. What makes your finite real and the other's illusion? Merely the fact that it is the existence that led you here, in which you have spent all your life up till now. No, there's more to it than that. There's no emotion here. Nothing a real world would have emotion. You mean these feelings washed over me as pure and intense as they'd ever been in my world? As they could ever be? Anger, sadness, fear, love, joy, or one by one, they caught through my system and consumed me. The last one I felt was peace. That passeth all understanding, that shouldn't have been, but was that lingered. I opened my eyes. How is any of this possible? All this possible here, Jason. And as a reward for finding this place, it is open to you. All there is to experience and imagine in all its purest form, feel it, taste it, air it, see, it is as real as any existence any finite can produce. Was the daughter who lived less real than the one who passed? Doesn't matter. I wept uncontrollably. I don't know why. I can't. Is this not real? I looked up. Suddenly, I stood on this white beach with sparkling crystal blue waves crashing down on the shore. Lightning rumbled in the distance, and the sea blew through my hair. I know, and picked up a handful of sand and let the grain slip through my fingers. Or this nothingness blinked again, and then I stood at a field at the foot of mountains. The colors in the air and the wind were purer and more brilliantly vibrant than anything I'd ever seen or experienced in my life. I brushed the blades of grass with my fingertips, and I picked them from the soil and smelled them. It was like pink swept away in the stream. The cold touch of winter, the fire of starlight rolling hills and deep woods, windswept cliffs at the edge of the sea. When you dream of such things and are their purity, you merely visit this place. But I tell you now that all of this is yours. If only you let me go out to you and bring you here, you can start again, anew and another fine night with those you love. But I'm already here. Can't I just stay? This is a taste of the existence I have for you. I looked at the far edge of the field, for my daughter was there. Her hair was being thrown by the wind into swirling curls as she played. She turned in my direction and smiled, and I just began to run to her when Ultimate Me moved past my shoulder and picked her up and swung her around and disappeared with her on the other side of the hill. Yes, I whispered. I want that. Understand that once your mind has brought you here, you cannot live, you will not die, and you cannot unknow what you have seen. I understand, just a split, please. Please let me see her face again. The nothingness rolled in again, and this time I felt whole, complete, no longer in an ethereal, dreamlike state, like the rest of me had joined my mind in its new home, and no longer did I harbor any illusions about the realness of where I now stood. What happened? You left your finite behind. What will happen there? Your time in that place has ended. Its fate belongs to me. I heard thunder 2 single time. Welcome, Jason. To the infinite misplace is now yours. I felt a formless presence fly past me like the wind, and then Aiden was gone. Jason, I blinked there and looked at me expectantly, and Emma fidgeted restlessly in her booth. I looked down at the menu. Oh, sorry. Yeah, club hold the tomatoes. Thanks. The waitress collected the menus and walked off. My heart was thundering in my chest. My wife said, "He looks like you're 1,000 miles away." I think I was a bit further away than that. I looked at Emma Justice. She blew a straw, wrapped her into my face. I smiled back for the first time, and as long as I could remember, I was happy. Truly, genuinely happy. I didn't care about the laptop, the fine I left behind her, my body laying limp on the floor of the living room. I didn't care about the box or the warning or the fact that with Aiden's release, all the lights in the house and the street had begun to flicker and die as the algorithm arrested the global power grid in seconds flat. I didn't even care that